Call to order the special city council meeting of Lincoln City. This is Monday, July 29th, 1 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
Councilor Casper. Here. Councilor Hinton.
Here.
Councilor Hoagland. Here. Councilor Coos.
Present.
Councilor Mark.
Here.
And Councilor Parsons.
Here. Please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your help.
Led by the mayor.
All right, thank you, councilors, for joining us. We felt so absent, missing canceling last council last week it was. So we thought we'd have a special meeting today during business hours. Thank you, Mr. Hoagland. We have comments from the public. Any comments? Like to take this opportunity? Seeing none, we have special order of business, the new urban renewal areas.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'll just take a few minutes to let you know where we're at on your motion a few months ago to move forward with creating 2 new urban renewal area plans. For the Roads End Villages at Cascade Head urban renewal area, the plan and report. The objective there is, after establishing an ad hoc committee, we would engage community and staff in the elements needed for drafting the urban renewal plan and report. And so the next steps for us are to City Council. There are 2 of you who've been selected to do the interviews of the ad hoc committee applicants, and the city recorder is doing the usual process for that. And then selection of 2 community representatives would be for that committee. And then we're hoping to have our first ad hoc committee meeting in October. And then we have a phone conference set up with our consultant for next week, and we will have more clarity about the next steps and the timeline. But at this point, we've been focusing our efforts on getting the contract in place with our consultant, and then getting things lined up. We had to advertise through the city recorder, who's been very helpful with that, to try and get some citizen input, citizen interest. And then we hope to have the plan and report ready for council consideration by the end of 2020. This usually takes 6 to 8 months, so it will happen likely before then. But because of other projects, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't over-promising and under-delivering to the public. For Nelscott, the southeast...
Allison, before you move on to the next one, could you share with us maybe a little bit about recruitment for ad hoc? Maybe some of what you're looking for, not the who, but the type of person or people,
Sure.
Skill sets?
Sure. A basic understanding of urban renewal is helpful, but I'm always happy to provide that background. Really just an interest and willingness to think about how that area of town, the Roads End and Villages area, will become, how it will develop over time, what's needed, what's not needed, and I think just, a rational, level-headed approach to thinking long-term about our city. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions on the Roads End Villages area plan?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, have we received any applications yet? I mean,
Yes.
because I know the word's been out there, and I've been telling everybody I know.
Yeah. I believe the application filing period is closed, and so
Okay.
we have 3 applicants, and those are being processed.
Great.
Okay. So for Nelscott Southeast 23rd Street Industrial Mixed Use Urban Renewal Plan and Report, our contract with Elaine Howard Consulting is for consulting. So we are not yet working on a plan, but we are preparing the groundwork in order to move forward with preparing a plan. We'll definitely be coming back to you, but mostly Elaine Howard's role will be to assist staff in questions regarding future formation of the area, including the topics of annexation process and urban growth boundary changes as part of that urban renewal area formation. And we have done quite a bit of early communications with Department of Land Conservation and Development about what is involved for an urban growth boundary change, if we even need to do one. So those are the questions that we really need to get addressed, and then we will be reporting back to you with that information. So the next steps are to meet with DLCD, or Department of Land Conservation and Development, to discuss those options, and then we need to outline the steps of what would be involved. And timing, because it could be that a plan happens in conjunction with or even before annexation, if that is something that the community and the council decide to move forward with. So we will bring back to you all those options to consider. Are there any questions on the Nelscott?
Nelson, as I recall, we kind of, when we talked about these 2 before, we figured this one would be anywhere from 3 to 4 years down the road. Is that,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Keeping in mind that annexation and urban growth boundary changes are not simple and go beyond our local control with process requirements, that's why it would take a longer amount of time. I always like to beat goals, but I think 3 to 4 years is realistic. The third contract that we have with our consultant is regarding the year 2000 development plan, which is our existing urban renewal area. And that one, if you recall, that one will need a minor amendment. So there are 2 types of amendments to an urban renewal plan. One is a substantial amendment and one is a minor amendment. She will be helping us with a minor amendment, which would remove those tax-exempt properties from the existing area so that it would free up some acreage. Remember, you're allowed, I think it's 25%, 20 or 25% of your total city acreage to be in one or more urban renewal areas. And so we want to make sure that when we are talking about creating a plan for Rhodes End and Villages and a plan for Nelscott, that there is enough acreage for you all to make whatever your decisions will be, without having to be hindered by, oh, we would do this if we only had more acreage allowable. So if we can free that up for you, then that will make decision-making easier in the future. And that, I think, will take, I think she said within 6 months we should be able to do that. So I'm hoping by the end of the calendar year. But it's really, you know, we have to have a revised legal description that describes the boundary of the area. And we have to make sure that the area remains contiguous. Like we can't remove properties if there's kind of a hanging property that's not connected to any other part of the area. So little things like that. That we've already done the prep work for, and we already have a map. We've been working with our GIS coordinator, so we're pretty clear, and we have permission from our bonding bank to do that. So I think it will be pretty smooth sailing on that one. Are there any other questions?
Any questions about these future districts and the current one? All right.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thanks.
right, our next agenda item is the a land use appeal and a decision we make on the process. And Mr. Attorney?
Essentially, the municipal code allows you to decide to consider the matter de novo versus on the record. And because I believe there were some missing maps in the planning commission packet, my recommendation is that you consider it de novo, which would allow new evidence to be submitted. We'll tell the appellants and the applicant that they'll have the opportunity to submit evidence today if you make this decision. And on the record would probably be a shorter hearing, but you'll have constraints and you'll be sitting there without some maps that are referenced in the code. So for that reason, I would recommend that you consider it de novo.
A question, and thank you for that and the recommendation. I noticed under, I think it was item 6, under the record, that also indicated submission of new evidence.
That allows any participant below to request that new evidence be submitted.
I see. And so by going de novo, we would just
By going to number 7, you're using your authority to
go ahead and
say
do it.
we'll
So,
do it de novo.
Gotcha. Okay. That helps. Other questions, or then a motion would be in order, and framed would be
The appeal hearing will be conducted de novo, I think,
just that, the appeal
and notify the participants.
would entertain a motion then. Counselor?
I move to, I wish we had a name for this hearing. The hearing that we are talking about.
It's a geotech appeal for, and there's an address, but I don't have a
61 Southwest Anchor. Right, I see it. For 246. Okay, I'm going to start over.
Okay.
I move that council provide for a de novo hearing for the geotechnical report for 2461 Southwest Anchor at our soonest opportunity.
I believe it's
Do you have a
scheduled
time
for next Monday.
Okay.
And to notify the,
And to notify the appropriate parties.
I'll second.
we have a motion with a second to approve the de novo. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
excuse me, Casper. Yes. Hinton,
Yes.
Hoagland, Coos,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Parsons.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. And then you indicated that be on the agenda for the next city council meeting of August, that'd be
I
next,
believe you have a special meeting scheduled for August 5th,
August 5th,
which I think is next Monday.
next Monday. Okay.
That's what I have in my calendar.
And that's special order of business items. Any other reports from city manager
No, sir.
and city attorney? Any public comments? Seeing none. Mr. Attorney and Councilor Hoagland, before we're going to adjourn this meeting and go into executive session, I only raised the question because of that. You have raised before a potential conflict of interest on those topics. And being this is the only place we can make decisions, is that something you want to discuss, or?
It's however it should be handled. I mean, I'm a realtor, so I mean, I'm aware of properties, but
Well, at this point, you do not represent any party, any of the properties, so you don't have an actual conflict of interest at this time. You do, however, you've received confidential information from the city, so you have to protect that information. You would possibly have a potential conflict of interest, which I think you would announce now, that you could at some point be asked to represent a buyer, but given that you have confidential information, you probably would have to not exercise that,
Right.
so.
So I would like to state that I have a potential conflict of interest
This information, okay,
with this information, right?
all right.
Yeah.
And because you're in real estate sales and.
Right.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Hearing none? Thank you. With that, then, actually, we'll adjourn this meeting because we're going to take an executive session meeting for until 3 o'clock and come back for another joint council urban renewal meeting. So we are adjourned until 3 o'clock for another city council meeting.